Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is pretty great. And today, Jonathan asked a question, and I don't know that we've talked about this formally on the channel or not. I must have been part of a conversation somewhere because he asked a question, or I could have had this conversation with him in private. But the question was, is your lawn guy still in the clink? He asked this 4 days ago, which was very serendipitous. Jonathan might be a psychic. So, to bring you up to speed, my next door neighbor, let's see, I've been here 12 years. The neighbors moved in probably 2 years after that, so 10 years, and she moved in originally with one guy, cheated on him, he left. She got my new neighbor, cheated on him, whatever. Anyway, the point is, he's been there probably 8 of this 12 years I've been here. During the start of the pandemic in 2020, I heard him cutting. He had gotten a riding lawnmower, and I heard him cutting grass. And then I was like, "This sounds like he's in my backyard." And I went and looked, and sure enough, he was cutting my yard. And so I opened the window, and he's like, "I hope you don't mind." And I was like, I'll pay you to cut please cut my grass. And so since 2020, he's been cutting my grass. He just takes care of it. He wouldn't let me pay him. I would do the trimming. I would cut the little fenced in area. He just did the major areas. And then I would buy him, some whiskey or some tequila or beer, whatever he I would buy him stuff. One year I bought him an aerator for the riding mower or a de-thresher, whatever. So, while I was in Europe, I was in Poland specifically, we had an issue. Now, this neighbor is a felon. He's had plenty of issues with the law. The wife, the person who's lived here these 10 years, that was her kind of guy. Her type, the bad boy type or whatever. But we never had an issue. Like, he was fine. He was a little bit, he was fine. Whatever. He was a neighbor. Pretty friendly with me. Whatever. I'd help him with projects. He'd help me with projects, whatever it was. They'd been having issues, and at some point while I was in Europe, they made my wife a part of the issue. He called my wife one night asking her if I had some tool that he needed to borrow, and she said, "I don't know. You'll have to ask him." And then he proceeded to talk. He was one of those people that just would talk about himself and whatever. And she was like, she tells me, I just set the phone down and let him talk, and then would just say yeah every now and then or whatever. So he calls her again, like a few minutes, 20 minutes, half hour later, and tells my wife, whatever, something about she's on her way over there, punch her in the face for me, or something stupid. And his wife comes over and starts, banging on the door. This was at like 11 o'clock at night. And then yelling at my wife for talking to her husband. How dare you call my husband? I don't think it's right for a man and a woman who are married shouldn't be talking on the phone, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just complete inane bullshit, right? She was like, well, how would you feel if I called Chevee? And Malia was like, go for it. Like, whatever. Like, I don't know. And she's like, well, I might just call him. And it was this whole thing. So I was awake. Like, this happened, like, I was waking up at 5:30. This was all kind of happening because it was like around midnight here, So anyway, at some point, not too long after she comes over and yells at my wife about talking to her husband on the phone, which is just trash, just complete trash. She comes back like crying and begging my wife to let her in, begging my wife to call the police, whole thing. And so my wife lets her in, doesn't want to, but decides to, calls the police. This is not, the police are frequently at this house. This is like at least once a year they've been there. Sometimes there'll be a string, they come over quite a bit, whatever. I guess, so in the interim, so between her coming over the first time and then coming back, allegedly he assaulted her, you know, smashed her over the head with an iPad, kicked her, was trying to choke her out in front of children, by the way. And then while she came over here and called the police, he went outside the house, the rear of the house, and just set a large pile of clothing on fire up against the house. Like attempted arson, straight up. So that's what happened. He ended up in jail. And he's been in jail all this time. Well, the very day that Jonathan left that question, the sheriff showed up here. I had gone somewhere for like a half an hour. I don't remember what I had to go do. I had to go do something. And while I was like, as I left, the guy pulled in, like, or he, like, not into my driveway, but into the road that leads up here. And then I get this text from my wife, like, saying, you know, who's in this Bronco? I'm like, I don't know. It turns out it was a sheriff deputy serving her papers to appear, to go to see the prosecutor. She was being called as a witness. The same day, Jonathan asked this question. So she went, that's not true. No. That happened at a different time. The day that Jonathan asked the question was the day she needed to go to the prosecutor's office. So she went there and got informed, you know, the prosecutor was gonna ask for her testimony. She didn't see any of the physical attack, but she did see him burning the house or trying to burn the house. And she can report to the timeline of events, that sort of stuff. And so tomorrow is the day, the court day. But today she got a call saying he pled guilty last night. So there's no court day. Today's the court day. Tomorrow, I don't know. One of these days was supposed to be the court day, but she just got a call today from the attorney saying she's been released of her, you know, they don't need her. He's pled guilty. So yeah, he's gonna be in for a while. I think they told her it would be 60 days before he's sentenced, but it could carry a term of up to 4 years. So he could be in prison for 4 years. Seeing that he's a prior felon and the cops have been called on him a lot of times. I figure he's going to be in for a little while, which means I have no lawn care service this year. I think I might try. We have another neighbor that lives he's still in our development, that takes care of some of the other neighbors' yards. So I might see if he wants to do it, because I do not want to do it. Like I'm lazy, I guess. I just don't care. Like it's not a thing that I care about. It's not a thing that I think about. It would be much better if he's going to do the neighbors. Just stop on over here, and I'll still do the side yard. Like that's not a big deal. I just don't want to do the rest. It just sucks. So I'll pay him to do it. But yeah, this neighbor has been challenging at times, to say the least. What are you gonna do? It's part and parcel of living in a development. You know, there's going to be people that are not necessarily sharing values or sharing, I guess, even like ways of life. It's sad to think that what the children over there had to go through is terrifying. I mean, I would say that I feel like he did the right thing. Like, you know, he owned up to it. And we all know that he's, you know, there was no question. Like, okay, that checks out. Like, my wife even heard the police officer, so that night he came over here and asked her a bunch of questions. He went back to his car and made a phone call through his Bluetooth and heard the person on the other end of the phone say, you know, no surprise, he did a number on her the last time. You know, so this has happened multiple times. I'm glad I'm glad nobody got seriously hurt. Um, but yeah, I'll keep you updated if I hear any more about it. I'm assuming they're divorced or getting a divorce. I don't think there's going to be saving the marriage after this. I don't really care either way, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know sounds smart is unbridled. It is an adjective meaning without limitations or boundaries, uncontrolled and unrestrained. The customer's unbridled fury at being denied a refund was a sight to behold. Unbridled, U-N-B-R-I-D-L-E-D. That's not a smart word. That's just a regular old word. Just a normal, like you hear unbridled in cartoons. I don't know if that's true.